Every trailer that's released for the Rings of Power has disappointed Tolkien fans, and now that we're only a few weeks away from the release, we're seeing more interviews from showrunners and producers, and now the actors have decided to fully admit this isn't a faithful retelling of Tolkien's work. It's a version of Tolkien's work that was changed for the sake of modernity. I have a bunch of different things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So it says the Lord of the Rings of Power actors completely stripped away any kind of facade that might have been built for the Prime Video series that it would be faithful to Tolkien's literary work. Instead, they made it abundantly clear that this is a show dedicated for modern audiences. Sophia Nomvet, who plays Princess Disa in the show, spoke to PA Media where she claimed that she is the face of a necessary redress of balance. Of course, she continues to pat herself on the back. She went on to full detail, we are redressing the balance within the film and television industry and, of course, this franchise, and I hope lots of franchises moving forward. Of course, these actors are acting like they are doing something revolutionary and that they're the first people of color in entertainment, which of course isn't true at all. But she also went on to claim that she is one of the first female dwarves on screen, which is absolutely absurd. If you look at the Peter Jackson movies, there were female dwarves, and they were much more accurate to the source material because they actually had beards and looked book description accurate, like she does not. It says, these are the best people for the roles, but what they've done is open up the doors for people of all backgrounds to come forward and have the opportunity to rise. Now, of course, I say this all of the time, and I will continue to say it. I have no problems with seeing diversity and inclusivity in entertainment, but the problem is the way that these producers and writers push these things into our faces. The source material clearly doesn't say that there should be a lot of diversity here because of course, it is based on European folklore. That is what Tolkien wanted to write about. So we should be following that description. If these writers want to go and create their own extremely diverse fantasy series, feel free to. Go ahead. I'm sure that there would be some people that would support it, but that is not what they should be doing with the Rings of Power. She's stated to be part of creating accessibility for generations to come, for new generations that this is their version of Tolkien. This is what my daughter will see of Tolkien's works. They shouldn't be worried about creating new versions of Tolkien for new generations. They should be worried about retelling Tolkien's work in the best way possible. And if a generation wants to appreciate that, they can. They shouldn't be twisting around the source material. Nomvet made it clear the Rings of Power is actually an erasure of Tolkien's work, and the whole point of the show is to reflect the modern world rather than reflect his work. This is what we have been extremely worried about for years at this point since this series was officially announced. I was worried about it. We all have been, that they would want to reflect the modern world, which isn't what you should be doing with this show. She explained it's their time and it's so important, and I hope many people will see this fantasy and be able to relate to it. The point of his works, and a lot of works like this, are not that you're supposed to directly relate to the content, you're supposed to relate to the messaging behind it. Good versus evil, making the right decisions, being a better person today than you were yesterday, all of these general themes, and it doesn't matter what you look like, the way you walk, or the way you talk, most human beings can relate to these messages. That is what you're supposed to be able to relate to. It shouldn't matter if you see someone on screen who looks like you, as long as you can relate to the general themes. And again, I have no problem with diversity and inclusivity, but they're putting non-Tolkien characters in a Tolkien story to be able to push their own narratives into it, and that's something that I disagree with. And here we go with her patting herself on the back more, saying to be the poster child and to fly the flag, being a mother, being a woman, being a person of color, being a curvaceous woman deemed as a thing of beauty is something we don't always see. So that image of Disa, this is all of those things personified in a face, and it happens to be my face. The problem that I have with these actors is that they don't actually know about the source material. They only know what is in their scripts, and that is what they're basing their thoughts of Tolkien off of. Ismael Cruz Cordova echoed her claims that the show is an erasure of Tolkien's work, saying the awareness of diversity with Tolkien's original source material has grown. The cinematic world that Peter Jackson created has immense value, but we've shifted lenses since then. The conversation is different right now, but going back to the source material, the world is diverse not only in race, but also in thought. There are several actors who have decided to come out and talk about these things in their interviews. And of course, as you've seen, they clearly were told to talk about diversity as much as possible. Make sure it's highlighted by you, that we focus on inclusivity with this series, and we want to tell a new version of this beloved work to everyone. And of course, they did this as a shield. It's obvious to see, I've mentioned it many times, it's so that if we criticize this series, which of course we are going to, they can go, only ists and phobes hate this show. It is a shield that Hollywood has done for years at this point. We are talking about a show that's cost over $1 billion for just the first season. So to hear, oh, hey, while we've put so much money into this, we also decided to go in a different direction than the source material, it makes no sense. They're in for a harsh reality when the social justice crowd isn't enough to make them money. There's not enough of them to watch this show and make it successful. They need as many people as possible to watch this series for it to make money, and they're pushing away Tolkien fans by saying they wanted to modernize his work. And of course, if we look at all of the teasers and the trailers that have been put out, people are not impressed. This was the San Diego Comic-Con trailer that was released. It's got over 10 million views. It cannot even break 100,000 likes, but it's almost going to surpass 240,000 dislikes, 21,000 comments, and most of them here are pretty negative. People are saying, while visually it doesn't look bad, there's a lot of problems that we have, and it's just not good enough. And the interview that this actress did with Variety is actually up on YouTube. It can't even break 2,000 views, and it has 57 likes to 192 dislikes. There's a lot of people here saying, I wish they didn't put up this interview. Tell me you have zero knowledge of his writings without telling me you have zero knowledge of his writings. This show right now is looking like it's going to be a disaster. Unfortunately, all of these interviews they've done have not made them look any better. It hasn't gotten anyone more excited for this show. Maybe it'll come out and it'll be absolutely fantastic. I plan to watch it just so that I can review it for you all, so that I can form my own opinions on it. But right now, I am not feeling very excited for this series. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.